Hello everybody, and welcome to my Shadow Priest guide. This is going to be a general PvP guide, and there will be things you already know and things you might learn. I'm going to divide this video into different sections. You will see chapters listed in the description, starting with talents, and with that being said, let's dive right in. Alright, so let's check out our talents now. The first row, Fortress of the Mind. This is a PvE talent. You're not going to be able to get much Mind Flays, Mind Blast off in PvP. You're going to have melee on you, you're going to get tunneled, you're going to get kicked on Mind Flay 90% of the time. It's a PvE talent, right? It's not good in PvP. Secondly, Death and Madness. This talent, another PvE talent. Like, if you get the benefit from this talent in Arena, you've won the game. You've killed a target, right? You don't really need more Insanity regeneration. You won the game. Maybe it's okay in Battlegrounds, but still then, the talent I would take is Unfurling Darkness. It's really good. So after you cast Vampiric Touch, you get an instant cast Vampiric Touch. So you can instantly dot another target. And not only that, it hits pretty hard too, the instant cast Vampiric Touch. As you see, it was just a 5k non-crit. I've seen it crit for 10k, 12k before. It's really big damn sometimes. So obviously this talent is the talent to go to in the first row. Okay, second row. Body and Soul. This is more for Holy and Disc Priest. Like, you're not going to really benefit that much from getting a small speed boost from your bubbles. It's just not that good for Shadow Priest. Sandlayan. Another situation with Fortress of the Mind. Vampiric Embrace heals off of direct damage, not your dots. So pretty much Mind Flay and Mind Blast. In PvP, you're not going to get many Mind Flays and Mind Blast off. I mean, you're going to get Mind Blast off for sure, but Mind Flay, you're going to get kicked on, right? It's just, you're not going to benefit from the healing from direct damage from this. It's just not good. The talent you're going to want to take is Intangibility. Reduces your cooldown on Dispersion by 30 seconds, which is insane in arenas, and Dispersion heals you for half your health. So obviously, it's a no-brainer. Intangibility is a talent to take on the second row. Alright, so for the third row, we have Twist of Fate. Another PvE talent. Pretty much, it's just not good in PvP. After damaging a target below 35% health, you gain 10% increased damage and healing. I mean, it's kind of weak sauce, right? I mean, that's a PvE talent, excuse me. Misery is a talent that I always run. I've seen almost every other Shadow Priest run it too. It saves you a global cooldown from putting Shadow Word Pain in your target because it automatically applies it when you VT somebody, right? That's just insane to have. Saving a global is a big deal in this meta. And Searing Nightmare, it's a PvE AoE talent. What more can I say about that? It's just not good in PvP. Alright, so for the fourth row, we have Last Word. This talent I've seen people run in threes. Like, if they run with two other classes that have stuns, they don't want to DR a third stun, so they run this. But other than that, like, I don't think this talent's that good. Reduces the cooldown silence by 15 seconds. That's, by itself, it's just not good. Like I said, it's situational if you're 3v3 comp. Mind Bomb. It instantly breaks with damage. That's the problem with Mind Bomb, right? If you use this in a battleground, it's going to break instantly. Someone's going to break it. You could use it in Arena if you get used to it, but if the healer has half a brain, they'll dispel it before it goes off. It's just a hard talent to make work sometimes. It takes pretty much a lot of skill to make sure it goes off. You have to usually waste a silence just to get the Mind Bomb to actually go off, because the healer is just going to dispel it, like I said. So you have to use a silence just for Mind Bomb to go off. It's just not worth it. 90% of the Shadow Priests are going to run Psychic Core. Your basic 4-second stun, 45-second cooldown. What more can you ask for, right? That's going to be your talent to go to in the fourth row. Alright, so the fifth row, Auspicious Spirits, excuse me. This is, I run this talent sometimes in Battlegrounds. It's good for extra rot and whatnot, but I usually run Shadow Crash over it. And I'll get to Shadow Crash in a moment, obviously. Psychic Link, another PvE talent. Like, it's just not that good, right? I mean, you can try to experiment with it in battlegrounds. You know, dot a bunch of people up, get a mind blast off. Maybe this will become meta with the new legendaries, but it's just not right now. No, it's just not a good talent. PvE talent. Shadow Crash is the go-to for me personally. It's either Shadow Crash or Auspicious Spirits. Those two talents are the ones you're gonna kind of decide between. But I personally love Shadow Crash. It hits very hard. It hits everybody for the same amount of damage. Meaning like it doesn't diminish if more people are in the area of effect. And you can use it to get people out of stealth. You know, you see a rogue stealth, a mage, a hunter, a druid. Bam, you use it, you can maybe get them out. It's really good spread pressure, especially in dampening an arena. You start getting those triple hit Shadow Crashes on them, they're gonna feel it. It's a really nice talent. It takes some getting used to, and you're gonna want to macro this so it's instant cast, and I'll put that macro in the description below. All right, for the 6th row, Damnation. It's your go-to talent right here. The ability to put all 3 dots up in an instant cast global is really nice, and it has nice synergy with Unfurling Darkness and Misery. It's really nice to have in this meta. Being trained by melee, being stunned, you can get a Damnation up, do some damage when you're in a stun or something, or between CCs. It's really nice. Mindbender, I use this in PvE with the Legendary, but I don't know, some Shadow Priests will run like a pet meme spec and use it, but I don't think it's that good in PvP. You already have your Shadow Fiend on a 3-minute cooldown. So, Void Torrent. This talent, obviously I like to use, as you saw from the intro of this video. It's really powerful. It hits really damn hard. The only issue with it is that you can get interrupted on it, right? And that's a priority for people to interrupt. And if you use it in arena, you are going to get interrupted a lot on it. So if you're new to Shadow Priest, I would definitely recommend running Damnation just to play it safe. But both those talents are your viable options for PvP, in my opinion. Okay, so for the last row of talents, we have Ancient Madness. So Ancient Madness doesn't stack with double Void Form spec. So double Void Form would obviously Megalomania. If you use Megalomania, actually let me reverse that. If you use Void Eruption then Megalomania, you don't benefit from double crit. So it'll stay at 30% and then it'll reset to 30%. So you can't double Void Form and get 60% crit. And that's probably why I don't run this talent that often. Like it's decent to run. You definitely see the crits and big damn, but it's in a 1.5-minute window where you benefit from this talent. And I just think Hungering Void is going to be better because the target takes 10% more damage. You'll be able to get kills on targets much easier, it feels like. You definitely benefit from this talent more than Ancient Madness. That's just my opinion. And then if you're going to be running Megalomania, you get Surrender of Madness. This talent I'm going to go over in a second when I go into the PvP talents. But I would go with Hungering Void for the last row. It's just really good. It's your go-to talent for this row. Alright, let's take a look at PvP talents now. So your must-have is always going to be Greater Fade. This talent, it used to be 4 seconds, it got nerfed to 3, but it's still really good. You Greater Fade to avoid CC, you Greater Fade to avoid bursts like aim shots or pyroblast. You can Greater Fade out of a smoke bomb, Greater Fade out of a Warrior's Kyrian Spear, Greater Fade out of a Resonator trinket. It's just a must-have talent. You're always going to be wanting to run this talent. And secondly, I run, I don't know why this is here, let me fix it right now. I'm going to put this Void Volley. This is the spec I mainly run in Battlegrounds, sometimes Arena versus melee cleaves. I call this the Sith Lord spec. So you pop Megalomania, you're able to cast while moving. Not only that, when you pop Megalomania, you go into another Void form, right? So that means a Void Volley is trigger. So having Void Volleys is really nice. It's an offensive defensive. So if you're being trained by 2 melee, you pop your instant cast Megalomania form, your Void Volleys start falling out. It fears the targets off you and it hits pretty hard. And you can often cheese people with this talent. Take this clip for an example. I used Megalomania on a group of Alliance Rezzing, and I did almost 27k DPS on them. So the other talents for PvP you want to go with are going to be this basic spec. You're going to run Scyfiend, and then you're going to run Driven to Madness. So this is your basic 3v3, 2v2 spec. Scyfiend's really good. It's your only MS you get. Mortal Strike reduces healing. That's what I mean by MS. It's an old warrior talent, Mortal Strike. And also, even if you don't get crazy value from it, it buys you a little bit of breathing room because they have to stop what they're doing and kill the Scyfiend almost every time, right? So it'll buy you a few seconds, if that, if you don't get much value off it. The warrior has to stop attacking you to kill the Scyfiend. So this talent is really good in 3s, definitely good in 2s, helps you get them kills. Driven to Madness, your Void Form's going to be up a lot more running this talent. Even if you're not being focused, when you take damage, it reduces the cooldown on Void Form by 3 seconds. So you're going to have Void Forms a lot more running this talent. It's really nice. This is your basic arena spec. Also, obviously, you can change it around for certain comps you face. Like, I get rid of Scyfiend and I run Improved Mass Dispel if I'm facing like a Mage, Pally, or Hunter team. You want to be able to quickly Mass Dispel your freezing traps. And also, I'll have the macro for instant Mass Dispel. You want to be able to quickly MD things with the cursor, and I'll have that macro down below. So you can run this spec against some comps, but other than that, most of the time you're gonna have to run Scyfiend and then Driven. So that's your basic arena spec. So for arena, this trio. And for Battlegrounds, I would definitely run Megalomania and Void Volley. And also, if you face melee cleaves in 3s, like Ret Warrior is a very popular comp right now, run this spec also. You're gonna thank me later. This spec destroys Ret Warrior. Like, the Ret goes on you, you pop this, oh my god, it's just, they can't do nothing to you. You're gonna win majority of those games just by running this spec. It's big damage, it's big peels. It disrupts the melee so bad. And you know what they say, a good defense is a good offense, right? So this spec is really fun to play with and really powerful. Obviously, it takes some getting used to because Megalomania will fall off and you'll go to 35%. But you got to let your healer know you're running that, right? Just so they are aware of the talent. Alright, so now let's talk about gearing and stats. So for Shadow Priest, you really want to focus on versatility, of course, and haste. So haste is important for 3 reasons. Number 1, it reduces your global cooldown so you can cast more abilities in a faster succession. Number 2, it makes your dots tick faster. And number 3, it makes you cast faster, right? That's obvious. So you really want to be able to get those dots up, get your insanity to start regenerating, start pumping that damage out. You're going to be a kill target a lot of the time. You're going to get focused. So I feel like haste is the most beneficial stat for a Shadow Priest. So I have been unlucky this season so far, and I haven't gotten a single piece of tier gear. So I don't have any tier pieces yet. Hopefully next week I'll have 2, at least my 2 set. But as of right now, the making of this video, I don't have any tier pieces. So it's very unfortunate, but yes, haste and verse is what you want to really focus on. I'll leave my character's armory link in the description below so you guys can check out all the gear I have. I'm not going to go over each piece, but for trinkets, you can really swap that out for what comp you're playing with. Generally speaking, I like to run with the insignia of Alacrity. the 128 haste. I have the rival one from season 3, so it's 278 eye level. I got lucky in my vault. Well, not really, because I'd rather have a tier piece than this, but still, having that passive haste is really nice. This is probably one of the better trinkets for Shadow Priest, but obviously, depending on your comp, you can also run Battle Master Trinket. You can macro like Battle Master Trinket and then pop your Desperate Prayer, so you get a bigger hot. You can also run with, if you have the Season 2 Malediction, that's also still a decent trinket to run right now. And Resonator, I don't think it's that good with Shadow Priest. It's gonna be hard to get off. Like when you're by yourself. If you're playing with a rogue, maybe you can run it, but it's just Shadow Priest is one of the harder classes to make Resonator work with, in my opinion. I'll try to play with this, and I'll maybe get like 1 out of every 3 of them to hit. It's just hard to make work sometimes. But if you're running a comp that has long stuns, long CC, then by all means you can try it out. But obviously you can run Eternal Aegis against like the caster comps and 3s, but for the most part, I just feel like having the extra haste on Alacrity is probably the best trinket. Alright, so now let's talk about Legendaries. Unfortunately, Shadow Priest Legendaries are simply not that good compared to other classes. But the ones I do run, I'll show you guys right now. So of course, double Legendaries are out. I'm rocking double 291s right now. I put my Paladin Command on my shoulders, because I didn't have my shoulders yet this season. And I have my chest now, but unfortunately I did craft another Legendary on a chest piece. And I'm running Painbreaker Basalm right now. This is a pretty decent Legendary to help you get more damage on the killing blow. You know what I mean? It probably does 2k more damage on your Shadow or Death if you have a target fully dotted. It's not that good, but it's definitely one of the better ones of all the options you have. Like I said, the Legendaries for Shadow Priest aren't too detrimental. Of course, you're gonna want Paladin Command if you're Necrolord, right? That's just a given. Now that double Legendaries are out, I do think most Shadow Priests will stay Necrolord, because the Venthyr Legendary is just not that good. Like it's trash, let's be honest, right? So if you want to benefit the double Legendaries, you're going to be running Necrolord. I'll talk a little bit more about Covenants in a bit, but right now I just want to explain why I'm Necrolord and why I'm running these Legendaries. Also, the other Legendary I like to run is, let me get it right here, Cephas Proclamation. So this is a really nice Legendary to run in Battlegrounds. Sometimes I'll run it in Arena, but it makes your character feel a bit more fluid, more loose, you know what I mean? You get the 80 stats to each stat you get, haste, crit, mastery. So that 80 haste you definitely feel. Like, if I know I'm going to be outnumbered and fighting a bunch of enemies, like a 1v2 or a 1v3, I'll put this Legendary on, because it makes my character a bit more liquidy, a bit more smoother to play. Like, you'll definitely notice this Legendary when you're playing with it. Like I said, it's not that good. Like, it's just, this is the only option we have, right? It's either Cephas or Painbreaker Basalm. Like I was saying, I don't have my 2 or my 4 set yet, but as more Shadow Priests do get their 2 and 4 set pieces, this Legendary might see play in the future. Talbot's Stratagem. It increases your Mind Blast damage by 55% for every dot that's on the target. So I don't know if this Legendary will become meta once more Shadow Priests get their 2 and 4 set pieces. So, and here's another tip for you guys real quick. Your mastery is based off pretty much similar to that Legendary. Your damage is increased by 4%, 8% to 12% for every dot on your target. So before you do direct damage like Mind Flame, Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, Shadow Crash, you want to make sure all 3 of your dots are on the target if possible. Obviously, Vampiric Touch, Devouring Plague, and Shadow Repaint. So it'll increase your damage by 12% if you can get that off. So the Shadow Priest 2 set is Darkened Mind. Casting Devouring Plague has 40% chance to grant Dark Thought. So Dark Thought is pretty much a instant cast Mind Blast that you can use while casting Mind Seer or Mind Flay. So I don't know if Shadow Priests will start working with a all mastery build to get those big Mind Blast out. They might even start grabbing this talent right here, Psychic Link. It's too early to tell. I don't have any 2-piece sets yet, so I can't really speak on that. But if the meta kind of shifts, I'll let you guys know, and I'll definitely make a video on that. Okay, so now let's talk about Conduits and Covenants a bit. So people always ask me which Covenant's the best right now in this meta, and clearly that's going to be Necrolord. You get your Palette Command Legendary. You have a pet that deals decent damage when you're in a stun, when you're in CC. Really nice to have. Keep the damage going when you're sitting there in a 6-second kidney shot. The Venthyr Legendary is not good, like I was saying. It doesn't really give you much value, if at all. So Necrolord is definitely the move right now. With that being said, let's talk about the Conduits a bit. I'm not going to show you guys the Conduits for Venthyr because they're pretty much going to be the same ones I'm running here. And really, I don't play Venthyr anymore after I got my double Legendaries. So let's talk about the Necrolord Conduits first. So obviously Kevin's Oozling, a little pet that attacks, more passive damage. Your Skeleton Boy and your Kevin will be attacking people while you sit in stuns. Really nice to have. Vicious Trail, it drops a snare on the floor that slows people by 70%. Really nice to have in it procs. Gives you a little bit of breathing room if melee are tunneling you in the battleground or in the arena. Ultimate Form makes you immune to CC while you channel Fleshcraft. Really nice to have. Makes you immune to CC for 3 seconds after Fleshcraft. And Kevin's Keyring, not really a conduit I can talk about here because it doesn't affect, combat, but I like the Keyring because it unlocks my little chest. I don't have to log on my rogue to do it, so really nice. Ooze Frictionless Coating. Gives you a small little bubble under 50% health. I feel like this is the best one out of the 3 of these. But this one, you're not going to really be standing still as a Shadow Priest a lot. You're going to have to be kiting a lot, so it's not that good. And this is just, I feel like this one's better. You're a Shadow Priest, you're going to be targeting right now. You don't want to go too aggressive with these Conduits. Like 12% more damage is nice, but you're going to be switching targets a lot, right? So I feel like this is the best one. Plus you get your Potency Conduit. So, and of course you get Volatile Solvent, which gives you a buff based on what corpse is nearby when you channel Fleshcraft. Alright, so now let's talk about Conduits, starting with Dissonant Echoes. So this is your best in slot Conduit. It got nerfed, but it's still really good. Void Bolt is your #1 damage dealing ability in Void form, so having 15% more damage on that is detrimental. Also giving your Mind Flay a 6.2% chance to allow you to cast a Void Bolt outside of Void form. So really cool to have. In Void form, it also might reset the cooldown on Void Bolt by 6.2% chance, essentially giving you another free one. So every Shadow Priest needs to run this, it's just detrimental. Secondly, Condensed Anima Sphere. More survivability, it's really good. You heal 5% of your max health every 10 seconds. That's a lot of added survivability. Generally, that's what you need as a Shadow Priest. So I run this Conduit, I think it's good. You definitely see it when you run it. Like you definitely feel like you can survive for a bit longer having this Conduit. So definitely run this one. Haunting Apparitions. Your apparitions deal 62% more damage. This is obviously really good too. More passive damage, more rot damage. Running this in battlegrounds and 3s, it's really nice to have. Clear Mind. So this is going to be your most important Conduit to run in Arena because you want to make sure you have the mana to mass the spell when your team needs it, right? So not having this, you're going to go a lot quicker. You won't be able to use your Unholy Transfusion because it does cost 2,500 mana. So you definitely want to get your Dispels as cheap as possible. But this is a must-have for 3v3, 2v2 arenas for sure. Festering Transfusion. This is your Conduit based on your Covenant ability. So of course this is mandatory. Unholy Transfusion lasts 2 seconds longer and deals 24% more damage and healing. So obviously it's a must-have. Buffs your Covenant ability. You want to want that. Alright, last but not least, Light's Inspiration. I like this one because Desperate Prayer is on a short cooldown, right? It's a minute and a half. So you can hit Desperate Prayer every minute and a half when you get locked on Shadow. And it gives you a pretty powerful hot, 12% of your maximum health over 5 seconds. So Desperate Prayer being a cheap short cooldown and having this Conduit really helps. And if you run Battle Master's Trinket, you can obviously take this Conduit, make your macro when you Desperate Prayer after you pop your Battle Master Trinket and get an even bigger hot. So this is probably one of the best defensives you can get as a Shadow Priest. You're going to get locked on Shadow a lot. Hitting Desperate Prayer is going to help out a lot. So definitely grab this one. Adds to your survivability. Okay, so the #1 question I get asked is, what can I do to improve my gameplay and get better at Shadow Priest? So I'm going to answer that question right now. I believe there are 3 things you can do to improve as a Shadow Priest. And I'm going to start here with #1, and that is juke interrupts. You have to get good at juking interrupts. If you're standing there getting trained by like a DK warrior team and you're constantly getting interrupted, you're not getting your dots up, you're not dealing damage, you're not healing yourself, you're not putting pressure. It's just, you're gonna roll over and die eventually if you keep getting interrupted on Shadow. It's your only school to work with besides Holy, and that's just 2 abilities, which is Desperate Prayer and Shackle Undead, right? So getting interrupted on Shadow, you're pretty much just a target dummy for melee to wail on, right? You're gonna have a bad time, you're gonna roll over and die. You have to get good at practicing juking interrupts. So I would recommend getting the add-on called Omnibar, and you can see when melee use their interrupts. This is a must-have add-on for Shadow Priest. So get Omnibar, it'll make your life 1,000 times easier, and start practicing juking the melee interrupts. Cast VT and then stop 0.5 seconds later. You're gonna get, most of the time, you're gonna get one of the 2 interrupts, I promise you. You have to practice and get good at it. If you're getting locked out constantly on Shadow, you're not gonna go anywhere, I promise you. Alright, so the second thing you could be doing better as a Shadow Priest is
throw more dots, throw more dots, more dots, more dots. Come on, more dots.
More dots. So you should be dotting everybody you see in a battleground. So don't worry about breaking CC or anything. If someone CCs a target with your dots on it, it'll take the dots off, right? It is your job to have everybody dotted up. Don't just dot the warrior that's overextending and the random warlock off to your left. Everybody needs to be dotted. You need to have the full team dotted. You need to put that spread rot pressure. That is your job as a Shadow Priest. It's like the Oprah meme. You get a car, you get a car. But in this case, you get a VT, you get a VT, you get a VT. Everybody gets VTs up in here. You should be casting Vampiric Touch on everybody in your sight before you even cast Mind Blast. That is your job as a Shadow Priest in Battlegrounds. And obviously in Arena, you want to have at least 2 targets dotted, preferably both DPS, and then you guys focus on CCing the healer. You really want to have that spread rot dot pressure, okay? It drives the healer you get into dampening, it starts to become unhealable damage. So that's what you need to be doing, dot more targets. I see too many Shadow Priests queue up for a battleground or in my RBG group, and I'm doing 5 times their damage, and I'm like, why? And I look at them, they're dotting 1 or 2 targets. The 1 kill target they're calling out on Discord, and they're not dotting the rest of the team. That's a big no-no. Your job is to dot everybody. Okay, so the third piece of advice I can give to you Shadow Priests out there is to understand your enemy and understand your own toolkit, okay? I'll see Shadow Priests, for instance, for example, fighting a Death Knight, and they don't dispel the disease off them when they get kicked or something, you know what I mean? Always be doing something. Always react to what your enemies are using. So, for instance, you get kicked on Vampiric Touch, dispel the 2 diseases the Death Knight has on you. Shackle his pet with Shackle Undead. The Death Knight pops Lichborn, You can shackle undead him for 8 seconds, the whole duration of Lichborn, right? Understand what you can use in your toolkit to counter your enemy. You're fighting a war, he pops Spell Reflect. You can use Mind Flay to take the Spell Reflect off before Mind Flay even deals any damage, right? You're fighting a Shaman, kill Tremor Totem, kill Grounding Totem. Your #1 priorities you should be doing. If your healer is in a Kidney Smoke Bomb, run in there, fear him off. If your healer is getting tunneled by a melee, use Mind Control to give you guys a little bit of breathing room. Mind Control the enemy melee. Give your healer time to top himself, right? There's many things you can be doing as a Shadow Priest. You're not just a DPS class, you are a support class. You are a priest at the end of the day, right? If your partner in 3s is in a kidney shot and he's about to get resonated, life grip him, leap of faith, right? Let's just say, for instance, you're fighting a hunter. You know the hunter's gonna feint death your dots off every 15 seconds, right? So that's when you save your Unfurling Darkness proc to instantly redot him. And I would highly suggest setting a focus macro. For me personally, I have Alt F for my focus, so whatever I'm targeting, it'll set my focus if I hit it. I'm focusing myself right now because I have myself targeted. And then make macros based off your focus macro, right? I have a silence focus macro, so I can silence whoever's on my focus. You can set one up for your stun. You can set one up for Mind Bomb. You can pretty much do a lot of things with a focus macro. That's how you're going to be able to properly deal CC to your opponents, is having a focus macro. So any macros that I use, I'll put in the description below, and they're pretty simple macros. I don't use mini macros. You can just copy and paste them and start using them. And I also want to thank you guys for 300 subs. I just hit 300 subs tonight. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. If you guys have any questions, just let me know in the comments down below. I read all my YouTube comments and I try to respond in a timely manner. And if you guys got to this point of the video, thank you for watching the whole thing. Let me know that you watched and got to this point. I'm generally curious. And before I go, I just want to mention one thing. Let the void consume you. See you guys.